What is going on, everyone, and welcome to my Elder Scrolls Online Thieves Guild review. So I don't really do reviews often, but I feel like since it was a split release for PC and console, I would give you an idea of what to expect and what you should think of when you're buying the Thieves Guild DLC. So I waited a few days to actually upload this. It actually came out 10 days ago on PC. I wanted to actually complete the expansion before giving you an idea of what to expect. So the release on PC was the 7th, and it's coming to Xbox One on the 21st and PS4 on the 22nd. I don't know why. It must be like some sort of deal with ZeniMax and Xbox and PS4. So it's kind of unfortunate, but at least it comes out in the same month. And that's pretty good. So, what is the Thieves Guild? It's a new expansion in terms of the storyline. You should think of it as a 10 to 15 hour expansion of gameplay. I'm going to be going over how it's played out and how it's different from the actual game. So before we do that, the DLC is $20 for the standard edition, which comes with just the DLC, and then 4,000 crowns for the collector's edition. And what comes in the collector's edition is, of course, the DLC, 5 crown XP scrolls, which kind of just enhance your game. It's not really that important. And of course, if you are into the pets and mounts, it comes with 1 pet and 1 mount. So 4,000 crowns, or whatever the equivalent is to your currency. If you're just looking for the game, I think the standard is good enough. If you actually play it a lot and want the pets and so on, then the collector's edition, I think it's worth it. So, how does the Thieves Guild work in terms of gameplay? So, once you first start, you get a new skill line called the Thieves Guild, and as you may imagine, I think it goes up to level 12 at max. And the way it works in terms of story missions is every level you get 1 new story mission, or 1 or 2 anyway. So there are 17 total story missions that you do, and it kind of gets annoying because you have to actually level up your Thieves Guild and have to do repeatables to get levels and XP just to start up a new main story mission. But overall, it's not too much of a grind. For the most part, from 1 to 8, you'll get just by doing random stuff altogether. And 8 to 10, where the 2 final story missions are, that's when you have to actually do a few side missions. So I'm trying to word this without spoilers. In other words, there might be some spoilers, but I'll try to avoid them altogether if possible. So the new area in ESO is called Bane. That's the entire zone you'll be playing in. Well, for the most part, 90%. A little bit later on, you'll have to travel back to whichever your faction was. There'll be the 2nd or 3rd zone that you go to, and then your main area, or the place where most people do trading and where you see a lot of population. So, for example, the Ebonheart, you'll be in Shadowfen and Deshaun. I assume if you're Daggerfall, you'll be in Stormhaven and so on. So, overall, in Bane, I would say most of the main story is in the main town. There aren't too many side quests outside of the area, which is kind of weird because they actually made the entire area, but there's no actual wanderers or people who give side quests outside. So you're going to be collecting all your main missions and side quests from the main town, and then you travel from point A to point B. In the main campaign, there's you find people on the side of the road, you help them there. Those are your side quests. Not in this one. You're just in main town, go from point A to point B, and then of course you join the Thieves' Den. Pretty standard. I think you get the idea if you were planning on playing that anyway. So there's also a thing that's included. It's the late game of the Thieves Guild. It's the Trials, or the Maw of Lorkhaj. I don't think I pronounced that right, But it's like the raid or group dungeon of the game, in-game stuff where you get all your items and whatnot. And think of it kind of like the more of a trial, not so much of a, how should I say, Dragon Star Arena and the other stuff. The Citadel, they're kind of like that, but not in a way. So, yeah. Overall, I would say this DLC is kind of repetitive in terms of the late game stuff, simply because, you know how I mentioned you get one new story mission every level, 1 or 2. From 8 to 10, you actually run out of stuff or like main missions, and you have to continuously do the like random nonsense they have you do. So if you haven't played through the main campaign, I do know for a fact that it scales to your level. So you technically could do this at level 1, or you could do it at Veteran 16. I would honestly recommend you doing this at least Veteran 1, simply because it'll give you some experience. While your damage does scale, I would say the more champion points you have, the easier the game would be in terms of difficulty. So another thing I would like to mention is, along with the Thieves Guild, like the quest line, or not quest line, the skill tree, you should have your ledger domain. If you have no idea what that is, it's like lockpicking, thievery, and all that stuff. That's completely separate. You should have that by this point. I would probably recommend having that at least level 10. If higher, then it should be completely easy for you to do, especially if you're maxed out. Reasoning is, there are things called heists in the game, and you're going to want to have a lot of lockpicks, have your lockpicking up pretty high, and overall, just like stuff you would think that it's important for thievery. So, sneaking, have a lot of stamina potions. Invisibility potions go well, but you could find them in there or in the Hughes Bane place in general. But most people just craft them for PvP, like where you go invisible for a few seconds. Other things I'd recommend are just stuff that gives you stamina regen, because you're going to be sneaking a lot. You're going to be running. A lot of this expansion was a lot of running and traveling from place to place. I would say 80% of it is traveling from point A to B. The rest of it is story missions and action. I wouldn't really say it's a bad thing, but if you just like action and combat, you're going to want to try to do this stealthily if possible. So, once again, just to recap everything in a nutshell, $20 for the standard edition. I think it's worth it. You'll get about, I would say, 15 hours at minimum, even if you are just doing the storyline, even if you aren't interested in the trials or anything else. And then there are 17 story missions. You get the achievement for doing 16, but there's technically 17. If you can't find the main mission, it's because you have to level up your Thieves Guild quest or a storyline quest skill tree, and then you get 1 or 2 per level. And then after that, after you get to level 10, that's when you wrap everything up. But I think you can go forward and continue doing heists and whatnot. Would I recommend you having any gold or anything to start with before going in? I would say if you have at least 5,000 gold, you should be good. If you're good at like stealth lockpicking and not getting detected, you really don't need any gold, but just like a backup. Since you are going to be pickpocketing, there's a chance of you getting caught and whatnot, especially if you're doing this on a new character. Then it's kind of difficult because your lockpicking chance and all that stuff is going to be low. So have some gold ready just because you know you'll be getting caught by the guards. There is an option where you can turn off accidentally killing the NPCs. I would probably recommend leaving that off for a while, just because you're going to need that and you're not going to want to kill them later, and racking up your bounty in general is not a good thing unless you can evade. In the Thieves Guild, what was it, skill tree, there's options to prevent like catastrophes. In other words, like if you rack up like let's say 50,000 in bounties, there are ways to negate that. But without spoiling, just figured that out yourself. It's pretty straightforward. And overall, the side missions, I kind of say they're kind of repeatable because they're either like lockpick a safe box in this town or go pickpocket people in this town. And that's pretty much all you do. Occasionally, there's two different notice boards. One is like both repeatables, but one is pickpocketing and one is collecting said item in said area. And if you're looking for world bosses and whatnot, there are two in the entire Hughes Bane. They're not actually easy. They're like actually difficult to do. So I would recommend if you're playing this with friends, you're gonna need at least 5 or 6 people to help you. Preferably if you had a healer, tank, and your standard DPS. An actual group, not just like 6 DPS. You guys are actually gonna get wiped. But overall, it does require some strategy. The main bosses or the world bosses are not pushovers. So with that said, overall, I would say the Thieves Guild, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's not bad, it's just really repetitive, and I wish they didn't do the quest line the way it did. I overall just wish you could just do all the main stories in a row. Like, let's say if you wanted to binge play it for, I don't know, 24 hours straight. Technically, you probably could beat it if you were to just do a 24-hour straight gaming session. But unfortunately, you're going to have to do a lot of repeatable side missions just to get to it. But overall, I would say it's worth it. And a little bit about me before I wrap up is I have completed the Thieves Guild DLC. If you are just interested in watching me play it, it's all done on my channel. Well, technically, if you're watching this on March 17th, the last 2 parts will be going up on the 18th. But if you're watching this like 6 months down the line, it doesn't really matter. Just check the link in the description to the playlist. Everything should be all organized, all 25 parts. And you can just watch my playthrough and my experiences from start to finish ever since I started. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to let me know. I have completed it, so I have a good understanding of any questions you may have. And if you are new to the Elder Scrolls series in general, then ESO is just like an online subdivision of it. And I have actually completed the entire game. I have over, like, I would say 800 parts of ESO on my channel. So if you're looking to get into the game entirely, I would check that out first before going into the DLC. Not that it really matters. It's not really connected. But just to give you an idea, I think the main campaign of this game was a little bit more interesting than this. But if you're a veteran player just thinking about picking this up, I would say it's worth it. You'll get at least 20 hours of gameplay in total, including everything. Yeah. So, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys a little bit later. I do upload videos 7 days a week, so if you would love to see more upcoming games, then I would love to see you come back. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day.